Oh, look, it's Rainbow Falls.
Oh my God, I'm burning! Everything is catching, yes, everything is catching on fire. Everything is catching on fire.
You know, in the 2 years that I've been in this fandom, I've never really seen an episode quite as divisive as this one. I entered the fandom right after the whole Twilight Corn, Equestria Girls, and a lot of Season 1 was in the crosshairs of the community, so I just enjoyed them for what they were. That is, until Newbie Dash. Newbie Dash entered the scene and suddenly everyone was at each other's throats. I saw arguments take place, friendships end, and a full-scale riot that threatened the very existence of all of Equestria! Okay, maybe that last part was just wishful thinking. But before I continue, my lawyer, whom I pay 50 bits an hour, fucking ripoff, says I need to choose my words carefully, otherwise I could be liable for damages caused. You'd think he'd be more concerned about the arson, but nope. So, to balance this out, I found the perfect expert on the subject. Me! Shadow Clone Jutsu! I say, isn't this the interesting little paradox we have here? Why do you have a British accent? Because part of the way I'm made is from your imagination, and you like to imagine yourself with a British accent because of how cool it sounds. I know, right? Yes, indeed. Quite right. Unquestionably. Certainly. What's going on? What do you mean? I can't stop speaking this way. Oh, that is dreadful. It's quite troubling. Know any way to stop it? I'm not sure. Well, there has to be a way to stop it. Hold on, let me try something. Are you doing it yet? I'm trying. Well, try harder. Hold on. This is becoming quite tiresome. Give me a sec. Honestly, this is very irritating. Just give me a sec and I can—
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it!
Oh wow, where'd you dig up that skeleton? Hey, it worked, didn't it? Also, what happened to your accent? I said I was formed from your mind, so that means I can only do an accent for as long as you can. By the way, what makes you think I won't want to kill you and take your place and become the original? Oh, I think I'm safe. And what exactly makes you think that? Because being my clone, you would know that after spending over 6 months in a land filled with candy-colored dog food, enough schmaltz to give even Willy Wonka diabetes, and missing key body parts including my hands, feet, and other small pony body parts, I welcome death. You know I'm right. Can't fool you, can I? Not true, I've managed to fool myself into believing many things in the past. Anyways, we begin this episode with a long-awaited moment finally coming to fruition.
You mean Rainbow Dash, you're finally a full-fledged Wonderbolt! Woohoo! Yeah, Rainbow Dash! Woo! What she said.
Ugh. Now that brings up repressed memories. No, Pinky, no! Why? After arriving at the Wonderbolt's headquarters, Spitfire starts showing Rainbow Dash around the premises and reminds her of the most basic of lessons.
Don't forget rule number 1, newbie. Always check both ways before crossing the runway.
I smell a plot point! Shut up. Anywho, Rainbow Dash gets in the Wonderbolt's uniform, and going by pure aesthetics, I gotta say I kinda like the color scheme better with her in the uniform than her regular shade of blue. Everything pops more. But back on the subject, Rainbow Dash arrives at the training grounds to start her first day of Wonderbolt training, where she doesn't exactly make the best first impression.
Whoa, most awesome entrance by a newbie ever.
Are you okay, Rainbow Dash?
More like Rainbow Crash.
Classic rookie move, Rainbow Crash. That was amazing.
Higher Crash, you're breaking formation.
My name's not Crash.
There's no avoiding it, is there? Suppose not. The main reason I really wanted to talk about this episode is because of the controversy surrounding it. I was hoping I could do this review all the way through without getting into the nitty-gritty until the end, but it has to be addressed. The Wonderbolts teasing and or bullying Rainbow Dash. Keep in mind, I'm not just going to be talking about the militaristic aspect of the teasing, I'm also going to be tackling the subject of bullying itself. So let's begin. Now, there have been two different sides of this episode that I've seen from a couple analysts whom I greatly respect, but whose opinions on the episode I have to disagree with. The first one is that the Wonderbolts are a perceived military organization, and what they're just doing is knocking Rainbow down a few pegs with some light teasing, and how that makes for a great parallel to the real-world military in that you'll just have to accept that if you want to get anything done. The other is that the Wonderbolts were going out of their way to tease somebody when they should have been focusing on actually doing the work at hand, and how damaging that might have been to Rainbow Dash in that it makes them look like nothing more than a bunch of unprofessional bullies, and that if a bully doesn't stop picking on you, then the end-all be-all solution should be an act of violence to get them to stop. The thing is, both sides are right, but both sides are also wrong. Let me tell you about 3 different times in my life that I remember from when I was being bullied and how they pertain to the situation. The first take place when I was in middle school, a dark time in my life when I thought Adam Sandler was the height of witty humor, Crunk was here to stay, Newgrounds was the future of video sharing, and Shadow the Hedgehog was the coolest, most awesome character to ever exist within the history of mankind. Ugh. Dark times indeed. Every day when I would get on my bus after school, I would deal with certain bullies who would annoy me and constantly tease me. When I started trying to get back at them without any tact, I would end up being the one in trouble. But years later, when my friends would bring this up to me doing the same teasing but in a more friendly way, I would have a snarky line lined up in response, thus diffusing the thing that once made me so upset. The second is when there was this one bully who would constantly pick on me and not let up day after day after day, until finally one lunch period after he cut me in line, I proceeded to beat the stuffing out of him and throw him in a trash can. Of course, afterwards I was punished in an in-school suspension as well as being grounded for 2 weeks. And finally, the third one was when I was in high school. I would deal with this one bully in math class who would constantly pick on and harass me to the point that I actually had to switch classes because of him. But funnily enough, 2 years later, I met that same bully in a different class, and because we were the only 2 people who knew each other in there, we actually started talking to each other. We would talk about what we liked and disliked, and eventually we began to actually laugh at our antics from years past and actually became friends. I bring these up because out of all the experiences with bullying I've had, I found the best way to diffuse the insults was by fully embracing them and poking fun at not only myself, but the other person as well. But admittedly, that's not an end-all be-all solution. But Ryley, you might ask. That was middle school and high school, not fully grown men and women in a large organization such as the military. They should be above that. And I'd be inclined to say yes, for the most part, but here's the thing. I once asked a close friend of mine who happens to serve in the Navy why he didn't think I was cut out for the military, and he told me straight up he didn't think I could handle the pressure. And as I thought about it, I realized he was right. Military service people have to deal with having the weight of their country on their hands at all times, and a lot of what they do comes down to quick decisions and discipline. I don't think I would be able to take the pressure of being in a combat zone fearing for my own life, or knowing that if I do something wrong, it could cause an international incident. So at the end of the day, to get away from all that seriousness, I know quite a few servicemen who will act very childish at times. There's something to be said about having that camaraderie at the end of the day to come home to, but at the same time, if all of you are serving in the military and you think it's so weak for them to be offended about the derogatory remarks you made towards them when you both need to serve in that branch and be able to take the pressure, doesn't that say just as much about you as it does them? The military shouldn't be about teasing or putting each other down right off the bat. It should be a place where people of all different backgrounds come together to be able to defend their country. So the argument shouldn't be, oh, that guy just can't take a joke or is a special snowflake. It should be, how important is it to you to be able to throw those insults at them? Because at the end of the day, it really shouldn't matter to you as much as you make it about them. It's for that reason that I see both sides at fault in this episode. Rainbow Dash for not speaking up and telling the others about how she feels towards what they're calling her, and the Wonderbolts for not taking notice and being unaware of how much it's affecting her and thus the entire team. But what about having violence be the ultimate answer? Look, I'm not going to say as though resorting to violence is never the answer, because in some cases, violence does need to be used. You need to be able to not only defend yourself, but others as well. But, let me make one thing clear. Unless you or someone you know are in immediate danger, then violence used for any other reason cannot and should not ever be tolerated.
I am in so much pain due to this act of violence!
I know how hard it is dealing with somebody who just will not stop, will not empathize, or who just wants to screw everyone else other than themselves over. It's a very tempting feeling. Probably one of the biggest temptations in life to just want to punch or kick or lash out at somebody who angers you so much. I myself have had that temptation so much in just the past year alone. But no matter what, you can't reduce yourself to that other person's level and lash out with violence. No matter how tempting, no matter how satisfying it may seem. You have to hold yourself back. No matter how offensive, no matter how goddamn punchable their face may be. Okay, who put that there? Look, I understand what it feels like to be teased by people who just want to put you down and make you feel like absolute garbage. But at the same time, there's also friendly little teasing between friends or people whom you are on good terms with. Example.
I kind of see Bliss as frosted mini wheats.
Oh, God.
Oh, I see what you did, you jerk!
Not enough for you? Okay, here's another example. Oh, Event is never gonna let me hear the end of that. My friends and I tease each other all the time. Heck, my family members tease each other all the time. And yeah, while I can get on my nerves from time to time, I know it doesn't come from any form of malice. It really all comes down to the situation at hand. So I guess to end this, I implore you all not just to believe one side versus the other, but to understand the nuance of the two and see just what the situation calls for. Neither side is really right, and neither side is really wrong. People would say that's a cop-out and that means that this whole video was for nothing, but I say no. Bullying and how people interact with each other in these kinds of situations does take a bit of nuance. It's more than any person in this community can say, and it's more than anything I could say. But as for the episode itself, well, while there's still the aspect of finally seeing Rainbow Dash entering the Wonderbolts, which I'm looking forward to seeing the possibilities that unfold from that plot point finally being resolved, other than that, I just find it completely skippable. Well, that was one long diatribe we kind of went on there. Hope you're not going to make a habit out of it. Believe me, I'm not. It's way too draining. Plus, it causes me to have my conscience pop back up. Don't want to do that too often. Ruins the fun I've been having. About that. My memory is still a bit fuzzy, having just been born like, 10 minutes ago? But you made sure nobody was actually hurt in that village, right?